This is your daily market review for Wednesday, March 8th, 2023. Let's go.
Hey everyone, this is my channel to help investors and traders develop a probability-based mindset to succeed. Also try and keep friends informed of what's going on in the markets and the economy, and also a little real estate content as well.
This is Dan Max at eXp Realty, aka The Trade Night, and this is your daily market review for Wednesday, March 8th, 2023. Hopefully you're having a great day. Another one of those days, market's up, market's down, chopping. Looks like Powell said what he's going to say. If you start looking at the Fed fund futures rates, it looks like they're anticipating higher rates. March now is looking more like a 50 basis point rate hike. No pivot in sight. We will see. As of right now, the next big data point is Friday, which will be the non-farm private payroll numbers. Just be thoughtful of what's going on. I think we are seeing how the market has played the traps like we're expecting. But here's the hardest part, timing. And I've tried to warn people this endlessly. Manage your positions, trade around them, and do not try to predict the exact timing of it. You can see the levels, you can see the choppy action, some names worse than others, holding up, some dropping more. However, financials typically lead the market down, the banks. We'll go through all the evidence of why I think there is a bigger down coming, but doesn't mean everything has to drop all together all at the same time. That's not how this works, especially with the VIX as low as it is in the 18 to 19 range. So on that note, let's get into it. If you have any questions, want to join the Discord room, link is in the description below. If you are following on Twitter, hit me up. If you have any questions, try to talk about what we're up to. A lot of folks arguing about treasuries today. Again, huge short interest, and I'm hearing a lot of people who have got cash going, you know what? I think I might put my money into a 6-month treasury, get my 4 or 5% and just hold out. There's a lot of stuff going on. We'll see. Again, treasury market, we'll talk about it when we get here, but just a good conversation on here about that. And then just people in general hitting me up, having questions. Glad I can help if I can. If you're newer to trading, newer to why and how the market works, here is my best guess estimates, 56 videos about trading, the psychology, the patterns, time of the year, the seasonality, the repeating occurrences that happen based on news, traps. Oh man, it's just endless. Time versus price corrections, bottoms and tops, options. There's tons of things. Points of control. Yeah, there if you need it. All right, let's get into it. Bitcoin. Hey, look, my Bitcoin chart update. I swear I did not change a single thing on it. Back testing trend line. We talked about getting up in here and a failing. Could it be a head and shoulders top and then flop? Or is this just, again, it's kind of like gold. I don't really trust it. However, if treasuries hold up, do people, put money into gold as an investment? Bitcoin. Remember, this is why it's so confusing in the treasury market. And people are just losing their mind, but they don't remember this. When the Fed cranks up interest rates, the odds of a recession increase. So actually treasuries will get bought potentially if people think deflation is coming in the future, even though they will be raising the Fed fund interbank lending rates. Keep that in mind. Can be confusing. Hit me up if you have questions. At this point, you got to hold this 21.3. You're kind of, higher, lower highs, lower lows on this little leg down since basically, what is this? Mid-February. So not really sure. Going to leave it alone. Oil, talked about it, chopping around. If oil drops, of course people would be buying treasuries, right? People think inflation's coming down. Well, here's your biggest indicator of potential, inflation, right there for you. So again, these people are just looking at the treasury market in a vacuum. I think they're going to struggle. We'll see what happens here. Again, if oil starts dropping, I'd love to see it in the 60s. Maybe get a 50 handle on it. I don't know. That would be, to me, a better proposition for buying oil and gas. Natural gas, as we talked about, this was probably the bottom. Nice little action, pop, and now what? I've said this, I wouldn't touch this with a 10-foot pole. I think it's going to chop out unless something geopolitically occurs, which that's a bet you can make on your own. I'm not going to be able to do that. The dollar, as we talked about earlier in the week, even last week, chopping, working its way higher. A little doji today at the 200-day. I'm not too concerned. Again, the trend is up. Everybody thinks the market's going higher, the dollar's going lower. No. Again, I'm not really paying much to the treasury market other than watching what happens if there's volatility. But to my mind, the dollar going up, market ain't going to like it. It means rates going higher. But remember, they're taking liquidity out of the system. And again, people always forget this about bonds and dollar, whatever. Debt gets destroyed. People want to denominate and take their money in certain currencies. What currency will they take? the dollar. Make you holler. Will they buy treasuries? Potentially. If they don't trust other other government debt. We'll see. I posted this on Twitter today. The most important thing to the Feds, it's king dollar. It's not unemployment rate. It's, obviously getting inflation under control, but keeping the dollar strong. I'm telling you right now, people just totally ignore that fact. As I've said, this looks like a professional gap up. Novice to professional. You kind of have this down here. And maybe it's just a dead cat bounce, but again, I would not short treasuries. I think there's 1,000 other trades out there better than that. I wouldn't go long them either. I don't really, I would probably go long them before I short them. The VIX we talked about. Anytime you hit the 18 level, it's a gift. Be patient. This is a compression pattern, in my opinion. Could we compress all the way through OPEX? I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. Hopefully, if you're trading options, you are giving yourself ample amounts of time. Ample. SPY, we talked about why this was a novice gap trap. Said watch the 20 day on the bounce because that's what you do. It always does that once it breaks it. Now we're holding at the 50 day. It's just part of the trend. Is it gonna? We'd love to see it all collapse quickly, but does it have to? No. QQQ, same thing. 20 day chopping, holding up here. Watch what happens. Do I think it's gonna immediately implode? We'll see, right? It's hard to know. IWM said watch for it lagging. Well, look at this. Hits the 20 day. Bam. Makes a new low today, comes back above it, but it's a doji. Look for the doji sandwich tomorrow or just some more chop. Could just be some more chop. I know people hate to hear that, and they just hate chop, but that's why, again, I always impress upon people. Think about the 10-minute, 5-minute, whatever chart you're loving to trade, and then pretend that the daily can do the same damn stuff. And people are like, oh, no way. I stare at the 10-minute chart all day, and it goes choppiness, and then it goes, and then choppy, and then it goes, and it's like, well, what do you think the daily charts are representation? There's nothing new. There's no patterns that are new. It's all repeating. ZIG Gold retests the range lows. He doesn't really look that good. The same people are always bullish gold are still bullish. I discount them as counter indicators when they're bearish and just giving up, despondent, lost their mind. Maybe it's a buy. Again, silver looks like crap for those who bought dust and shorted. Again, congrats. I still have my core bounced up here. You're back at the lows. Does not look good. GDXJ, same thing. Does not look good. People who short JNUG. Just be aware, though. You are at support. Could it chop here for a couple days? That's always possible. AG. Man, everybody loves First Majestic. And we're like, this is not how a strong stock acts, as gold was making, holding up and chopping. Well, now it's back at the lows. I've showed you guys on the monthly. There's a bigger trend line lower. No desire. Maybe it gets bought out if it gets cheap enough. I don't know. I just personally would let it go. AEM. Again, gaps down. I think this was earnings, correct me if I'm wrong. And then it rallies back to 200, back at the lows. Better hold it. Newmont made new lows. Not ideal. Because, again, Newmont is a big dog in the industry. It doesn't look good if the big dogs are not getting pissed on. PAAS. We talked about this one. Just dead. Hit the 200-day flop, whatever. Let's get into tech. AMD up today. People are screaming, oh, it's so cheap compared to this and that and this and this. I'm like, have you seen a monthly? Have you ever seen a monthly on AMD? Do you know the past? Because it does this stuff. When it peaks, it rallies, and then it goes back down to hell. Now, again, I don't know what hell is, but it looks like it's going there in a handbasket at some point. It's a dead cat bounce, in my opinion. The stock is known to do this kind of stuff. Chop around at the highs. Again, if you're a fundamentalist, you're never going to think it's a bad time to buy it. But in my mind, I cringe when people talk about buying the stock because they don't realize semiconductor sales are slowing. You have massive gluts. I think South Korea. They're all, and then Apple's going to make their own chips. It's not the right time. The fundamentals, whether you care about them or not, fine. But there are seasonalities and there's waves of what's going to be bought. As we talked about, money flows from tech to commodities, industrials, when money comes out of tech, and I think it's not going back into tech. Now, again, someone will look at today and go, look at it is, and it's like, well, did you zoom out, partner? No, it's not. I don't think it is. It's just temporary flows in. Taiwan Semi, saw this one, still waiting. I think you're close if you want to add a little bit, right in this 92, 91 range. It looks juicy to me. NVIDIA playing the game. Feels like Netflix when it hit the top and chop. Nice close on it. People are going to say, oh, it's amazing. And then, okay, well, if that's what you think, I'd always tell people, when in doubt, zoom out, and you're at what I consider the high end of the range. I don't think you're going to really get over this, but could it wick over there temporarily? Absolutely. But be careful, be thoughtful. A lot of people are calling for 260, 280, 250. They just, again, you always got to be concerned at highs when the masses are yelling for higher price targets, and then at the lows when something's collapsing, everyone's going, well, it's going even lower. And it's like, well, it just got destroyed, and you're now saying moving your price targets, and now the banks are coming out saying, oh, the price target is this much lower. Well, here you have the same thing. The stock goes from 108 up to 240s, and now people are pumping higher price targets. You are exit liquidity if you're buying that. And this is a novice gap trap. I just don't know when it closes. That's my personal opinion. I could be wrong. Been wrong before. Adobe, again, while you limit your risk, you have your fine risk, you stop out if needed. Again, things don't really look that glamorous. Again, Adobe 20 or 50 day, Talked about gold leading up, leading down, not looking good, bonds, the dollar, whatever. Apple gets up into the range on the buddy pass from Goldman. Doji comes down, another Doji. Doesn't really look that great. Amazon chopping here at the 8-day 20. Again, these names look like do, but we'll see what happens. I mean, you're at massive. I guess you're not. You're just back at 2020 levels, just chopping. If you go look at the weekly on Amazon, people are like, oh, it's cheap here. And it's like, is it really cheap? Because, what if it gets absolutely smoked here? Is this just that candle on the weekly does not look bullish to me. And if you think that's bullish, well, go ahead, buy it, because here it is, like what it looks like in the daily. Novice gap, professional gap, game over. Now, again, does it have to go down every single day? No. CRM, gaps up. Man, it's just selling pressure. It's like someone's just trying to sneak out stage left. Doesn't look good. Guggenheim, again, I don't think their fundamental story looks good at all. Everyone's talking about ChatGPT, but they've got endless competition now with voice command search and unlimited AI search that's coming. Again, it's one of those things where I think there's a lot of people who are just, they don't realize once money comes out of tech, and it's not that tech disappears, Google will still be here. It just means the stock is going to be crap, but no one wants to hear that. So whatever, they won't hear it. Meta, where is the TikTok ban? Someone was distributing the last couple days. We'll see. This 183, 184 is holding for now. Maybe that's the next leg down starter. Maybe it's a Microsoft mess up. Maybe it's a semiconductor mess up or headline. Who knows? Microsoft, 20-day. If you go look at the weekly, monthly thing, is insanely up, and it's going to come down over time. NDAQ, as we've talked about religiously. I guess it is religiously. The saying that is what? When tech dies, when money rotates out, when the trillions of dollars that's gone into tech to hibernate for the last 10 years moves on and realizes tech is trash and they buy commodities, guess what? The NDAQ exchange is not going to have a good business, and it's already showing that. It literally peaked when? In November 2021, just like the NASDAQ. This is not good. It's a sign portending to something. Remember, liquidity coming out of tech. Where's it going to go? We'll see. It always finds a home at some point. MicroStrategy, talked about these levels up here, 20, 100-day, 50-day, whatever. Just be careful, watch it. Netflix, here we're talking about the chop top, gap up, chop top. Maybe this is more of like what First Solar's doing, I don't know. But then when it does go, it's a distributive pattern again, VPA, Anna Couling's favorite, chop top. But you can have wicks, you can have days where it looks bullish and bearish, and it's hard to predict with certainty. I try to look at them like, I wish today was the day, I wish tomorrow's the day. I just don't know. Roblox, we've talked about this one. Holding. Watch this 41 there. If it can't get above it, sayonara, see you later. Tesla, stocks that don't look good. Glad we got that Tesla Q. And if you got puts on this thing, it looks good. Talked about the game over candle. Here you go, a chop top flop. Taking its sweet time. Let's get into materials names. Really looking at Caterpillar. Obviously, would love to have gotten up in the mid 250s. Didn't get there. Now it's holding the 20-day. Doji day doesn't really look that bullish to me. Nucor, double top, chopping around. Every day doesn't have to be red. Just remind you. X, that doesn't look good. We talked about retesting the high and professional gap. Then 2 days down. Now, okay, makes a lower low. Comes back in. Again, every day isn't down. VALE. Check this out, just going nowhere. You would think emerging markets were doing well. Nope. Dollar's going higher. Probably not. So Arrow, copper. Said this looks very ominous. A lot of volume up here. Lots of volume up here. Keep an eye on it. Now, I know it held the 20-day and rallied back pretty strong today. Everyone can't argue that. But does it make a new high? That would be the question I'd be watching later. Again, because it could play chop games. I mean, remember, the stock isn't highly traded, so it can be kind of a liquid and move. CCJ, warned folks, 29 area, taking its sweet time. First bounce bought, making new lows. Doesn't look good. CF, some of these ag names. Talked about chopping around. CF in particular. Mosaic made a rip up to the low, not low, but upper 50s. Coming right back down. Again, ultimately, I like these names way better long term. I can't believe people really go out there buying AMD and NVIDIA for the long run. They don't understand inflation. Once it anchors in, it is a biatch to rip out. NTR, talked about 200-day failing, chopping. AA Aeron, your favorite, Alcoa. Hey, the market's going to go high. Aluminum does not look good. Financials, as we've talked about endlessly, lead the market. What are you seeing here? I know it's at the 100-day. Oh, it didn't collapse today. Oh, volume's increasing a little bit here. Doji here. Okay. That's not what you want to see. You hit your upside chop top zone, and then you're just making lower lows and lower highs. Financials will lead the market ultimately. JP Morgan paying out 0.1% in interest, charging 7% on loans. Chop top, making lower lows. Keep it on at Morgan Stanley. Not doing much under the 20-day, just curling down. Again, when does this market go? I don't know. But remember, the VIX is still in 18 and 19. There's no fear. Trade around your positions and be patient. Goldman Sachs, here you go. Chopping, chop. Looks like crap, in my opinion. XBI, this should be up if the market really feels good. Made new lows, 200-day. No, not trusting it. Good old tan. Check this out, getting up into the 80s. Look at this wick, held the 50, 200-day cross. Look at this. What is this? This looks like more like Cat 5 wire, fiber optics. It's just get through that, game over. ENPH, I've said this thing's a piece of crap. It's got a trend line lower. It's got to hits the 50-day, backs off. Again, I don't trust solar at all. Sedgerton talked about getting up into the 340 range. Coming down. Oh, but it has a hammer. Okay, we'll see what happens. First Solar. Getting tighter up here. We'll see what happens. This feels ripe to turn over. Again, if you got time on these, options are not cheap. Hopefully we'll get back, easily fill this gap and more, because when it turns, it turns. HYG, always like to just kind of play this up, talk about this this market leads the market, corporate debt, high risk debt, high yielding debt, not acting so hot. We'll see. We'll end it with the oil, try to make these recaps a little quicker because there's not really much to say every day. Here goes Doji, little indecision day. Again, inventories came out. Market kind of liked it, kind of didn't by the close. UNG, for the love of God, if I get another ask on this, just leave it alone. I don't trust natural gas. Now, if you're betting on geopolitical risk and you're just not going to watch the chart and you're not going to pay attention to the weather and just let it do it, set a stop, define your risk, okay. I think there'll be better trades out there. Let's get through all the names. XOP, talked about 140s, 100-day, making lower lows, lower highs. It's a pretty wide candle. I'd keep an eye on it. Maybe it takes a little, plays a little game. Oxy, I think Buffett's buying more stock down here. Congratulations, Buffett, and you sold probably more calls every time. We talked about the king of covered calls in November. Killing it. The king of covered calls. ExxonMobil, this is what's worrisome about this sector. It makes new highs, and it is just living on a lifeline. If it breaks the 100-day, adios, amigos. PX Dizzle. Sorry, my secret admirer / hater slasher, if I end up dead because they hate me talking junk on PXD. Again, long term, you probably love it. PXD, I could see going lower. Again, it's just the nature of the business, right? It isn't a big deal if it does it. EQT, 20-day chopping. Again, these guys couldn't manage their own futures. Their exposure in the natural gas. So no need to get excited about it or feel much of anything. Honestly, they're just terrible. We'll end it with Flex, LNG. And what do you see? Chop. Again, I like this. I know a bunch of people in Congress have interest in this. And that's the thing about natural gas is I think if the price sustains lower, then yes, it will be more desirable to export it. And Flex, LNG will be the beneficiary of that. So do you want to buy the UNG thinking it could go from $7, $8 up to $10? Maybe. Or do you want to buy a stock that if natural gas stays low, even continues to maybe rise a little bit, in time when the market is correct, I think this one can go gangbusters. So I hope this helps. Again, be smart, be thoughtful. It's hard to trade around the positions. I know that, but remember, your goal is to have your core through the position. Your goal is also too just to be, don't get like emotional. Just don't get caught up in the day-to-day movement. I know trading around the position, saying seeing like NVIDIA or SMH close near the high has to feel very personal. It's not. It's going to do what it's going to do when it does it. And that's what you just got to get used to. And who knows? You know, they've got that secondary offering coming. Maybe they rally this thing up to sell it cheaper. We don't know. Either way, be thoughtful, right? Try not to let your emotions take control. If your plan was to take some off on drops, do it. If your plan is to add on pops, do it. Just keep in mind, the ones that are acting the weakest, financials, right? Tesla, certain tech names, you know, as Livermore said, sometimes you got to let your winners run on those. And even Dust, like, you know, I've still got my core on that. But I haven't touched a single share of my Tesla short or my FAS shorts. And people keep talking about, oh, I'm trading in around XLF. Okay, that's cool. It's just the weakest ones I want to hold on to, and the ones that are holding up most, I got to trade them. I mean, that's just the reality of it. And you go, when do you decipher when that changes? Well, it's easy. You can see stocks that are making lower lows and lower highs are weak. Stocks that are chopping are chopping. It's really that simple. I know, right? It is that simple, but the evidence says if it's going lower, it's going lower. And if it's holding up, it's holding up. I mean, just keep it that simple. But you know what? That's the thing. When you're up 5, 10, 15 grand, 500, I mean, whatever, you start getting clouded by the reality. And the reality is at this point, NVIDIA, semiconductors, Apple's chopping, right? Caterpillar's chopping. I mean, you name it, right? Some of these names are chopping. Some of them are uglier, right? Let them go, right? First Solar, incredibly frustrating. But I sit here and go, man, I got till almost the end of April. Got a little bit of stock. Whatever, I'll take the heat. I'm taking bigger heat. I mean, I define my risk. I'm going in my mind. I know this thing moves fast, and when it moves, it'll move. If you believe oil and gas potentially are going down, higher interest rates, right? Deflation, just like it looks like some of the banks are seeing, some of like you're seeing in some of certain names. We'll see what happens. Because again, I think the Feds, and we've talked about this, they diddly wicked around for too many years keeping rates low. They have to raise rates, interbank lending rates, faster than I think they want, because inflation will entrench in. And when it does, they got to get they've got to get interest rates above the CPI. They're not there yet. Everyone knows that. Like what, CPI 6.5%, Fed Fund futures target in the 4s. That's not high enough. All right. Talk to you guys and gals later. Hit me up if you have any questions. I appreciate you guys. Have a great night. Peace.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, stop by the Discord room. A link is in the description below. Also, if you'd like to help support more free content, the PayPal link is in the description as well. I appreciate your continued support of the channel.